Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending another hour of the Growth Hour. Truly, I don't understand why we call it the Growth Hour because there's never a show that we do for an hour. However, it does sound good, and we want to let everybody know that we are here to educate, and however long it takes to educate, we're going to use that amount of time. Um, Tonight, before we get started, I wanted to make a few announcements. Please know that we appreciate that everything that everyone does for or in support of the Growth Hour. In the meantime, okay, there we go. I would like to share a video with you that one of the panelists, a situation that they're having, and something they're having that I feel that here we go. There we go. Here. We have okay. Now that we've done that, I would like for the individuals that are felicitating this event to give us more information on it. Sasha and Manti, can you assist me with this, please?
Greetings, everybody. I'm sorry, my background is not forgiving because there's somebody having a barbecue in the area, and I'm not the type to call the police and say, "Turn down your fun." No way. This is our culture. So, with that said, there's International Day where there's a day that's going to come to enjoy oneself. We ask you to join the event. It is to be announced, and it's just to highlight the experience of enjoying culture, coming together, having a conversation of the different cultures that we've come from. And it's a great space to be in. It's another group again that we're working with to kind of spread camaraderie amongst each other, coming together again as a family. And it reminds you of that. So thank you. Oh, and Lisa told me, oh no, Aisha told me my background is not that bad. Thank you.
All right. With that, we're going to get into the topic of tonight. Are you holding yourself back? I once read a post that I adopted, and it says you can't become who you want to be if you're continuously holding on who you used to be. I find that a profound post, and I wanted to share with everybody and expound on it. I think that there's a great percentage of the people that I encounter that are holding on to who they used to be, their past life, what has happened in their past life. There's a variety of different ways that we see that. We're going to speak on a few of the topics. Finance. Are you holding yourself back financially with your spending habits or your lack of work ethic or whatever the case may be? Are you holding yourself back in relationships? And we'll get into that at that point. And are you holding yourself back because of your mentality? I think that's the biggest one, the mentality. Does your mentality help you grow or does it help you stay stagnated? The last one is, are you holding yourself back in your living arrangements? Meaning, have you not accomplished your goals of wanting to buy a home, rental property, whatever the case it may be? Are you holding yourself back in that? So with that being said, I would like to start it off by showing a video first. And this video is going to be dealing with, I believe it's finances. I'm going to show you a series of videos. And I believe this one here is dealing with finance, the mentality and finance. One second while I get to it. There we go. I'm trying to get this, not having no difficulty. I just want to try to get it from the beginning. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start it. I'm going to share it. And then we're going to look at this and then we're going to speak on it. Here we go.
People is not how much money they make. And it's not even how much money they have. The difference between rich people, middle class people, and poor people is what they believe the purpose of money is. Poor people believe the purpose of money is to pay bills. That's the primary purpose of money in the mind of a poor person, pay bills. So the only reason they go to work every day is so they can get some money on Friday and hand it over to somebody else. Middle class people think the primary purpose of money is to establish good credit so they can buy things they can't afford and pay it off over time. Rich people understand that the primary purpose of money is to turn it into more money.
I know you niggas ain't cheering.
The difference between
Okay, hold on. So are y'all seeing this video I'm showing or are you not?
Yes, we've seen it.
Okay, so let me get back to that. Get back to that. I'm having a little trouble dealing with this one here. A little trouble dealing with it, but we're gonna get to it. Kevin, you moving pretty good, bro. Moving pretty good. Glad to see you. Let me get back to the screen sharing. Come on. This is okay.
believe the purpose of money, poor people believe the purpose of money is to pay bills. That's the primary purpose of money in the mind of a poor person, pay bills. So the only reason they go to work every day is so they can get some money on Friday and hand it over to somebody else. Middle class people think the primary purpose of money is to establish good credit so they can buy things they can't afford and pay it off over time. Rich people understand that the primary purpose of money is to turn it into more money. So I'm going to take the money that I make, turn it into more money than I had, and then and only then can I be wealthy. I can only be wealthy if I hold on to my money long enough for it to get pregnant and have some babies. I want to take every $100 bill I get and put it in the money maternity ward. That's the mindset that is necessary to develop the skill set of investing. Are y'all tracking? The difference between poor people, rich people, and middle class people is not how much money they make. And it's not even how much money they have.
Okay. Anybody would like to expound on that video?
It's actual fact. It's rather elementary. I alluded to all that just last week. And this is why we in the quagmire that we are in now. I was just talking to Dries today regarding
You breaking up, Kevin.
this is why rich people, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit now. Go ahead.
Okay, but this is the reason why rich people control politics. This is the reason why rich people are able to get judges in place. Because while we stand around crying, there's nothing wrong with saying we shall overcome. But while we're doing that, what we're doing, getting a gun and just hating people, no avail either. What we have to do is begin to invest and come up with political capital. As I mentioned, I've been quite a few rich people, and judges. And then driving around, if you afford to bend, whatever, I'm not knocking nobody down, but that's not their main objective. Their main objective is wealth, generational wealth, and take that money to make things happen for them, So therefore, like I said, it's more of a class war these days, and this is why we are in the plight that we are in. So yeah, that's how rich people. Until we get on board with thinking like that, because like the song say, money. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the respect. If you look at most Jewish communities, they was at rock bottom when they came over here. All right. Now, granted, the government did do what they can do to several of our communities, hundreds of our communities, to have them down. But now, if we can come together now and galvanize and make something happen, that'll be great. But first, you get the money. You take the money, invest it to make more money. Then you get the power, and from power comes the respect. And that's right. But whoever the speaker is speaking, that's actual fact.
Okay, I definitely appreciate that. I'm trying to get to the second reel, and we can see that one. Okay, let me go back to this, and then we'll deal with all three of them at one time.
The saying, you are what you eat, that may be the most honest statement that I have ever heard in my entire life. What you consume is literally who you become. And I want to challenge you to become the best version of yourself. But in order to do that, you need to change what you read, you need to change what you watch, you need to change what you listen to. And even deeper than that, you need to change who you're around. If you want to be an A student, surround yourself with an A student. And you know what the opposite of that is, right? Stop being around subpar people. I mean that in the most respectful way. You know those people that are always negative. You know those people that are always in drama. You know those people that are never talking about anything that fulfills you, that makes you better, that brings you more knowledge, that brings you more life into your spirit. Separate yourself from those people. It is the best thing that you could ever do for yourself. Once you consume better, you will be better. You will become better. You will become the best version of yourself. We'll talk soon. Have you heard the saying, you are what you eat?
I'm gonna show one more, and then we're going to get into this discussion.
What's up, Eva? What's the fun? You got time? Get on.
I learned in life, you can never bring somebody up if they don't want to go up. You can't. No matter how good you think you are, no matter how much you want to tell them, you can help them. If they don't want to go up, there's nothing you can do. 100%. But the reverse is not true. Somebody bad can bring a good person down. They can. 100%. Because the negativity in the world is much, much stronger than the positive sometimes. And the negative people can bring you down. So I stay away from negative people. You're right. I just walk away from them. One thing I learned in life, you can never bring somebody up if they don't want to go up. You can't. No matter how good you think you are, no matter how much you want to tell them, you can help them. If they don't want to go up, there's nothing you can do. 100%. But the reverse is not true. Somebody bad can bring a good person down. They can. 100%. Because the negativity in the world is much, much stronger than the positive sometimes. And the negative people can bring you down. So I stay away from negative people. You're right. I just walk away from them. One thing I learned in life.
Okay, let's get to this video. Let's get to this show. Okay, we're gonna start with Lisa. Lisa has her hand up. She has something she would like to say. Lisa. Go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening. So the videos were wonderful, but you know what I thought of is this, is that we're all examples to someone, right? So there's people out there that want to do better that maybe just don't know how to do better. So the last video on not being around people that's not going up, I don't really agree with that one. So let me start off, you know, in that manner. I don't really agree with it, because you're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to come across a lot of people. Do they not want to do better in life? Maybe they just don't know how to do better in life. Maybe they just don't know. Maybe they've never seen it before. They've never experienced it. If you've never ate a hot fudge sundae, how do you know what it's like?
Okay, so let's build on that. Let's dialogue on that, Lisa. You I'm sure you may not have eaten one, but you've seen one, and your curiosity has you wanting one. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Brooks. Unmute yourself. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Lisa, from what I know of her, is a optimistic person when it comes to people. She may be, you know, because I was in this stage too, you know, I didn't want to believe people when they showed me who they are. Now it's the opposite. When they show me who they are, how they feel about me, you know, what they're about, I believe them. I take it face value. And because I've been hurt a lot of times by overlooking, you know, people's tendencies and character because I want them to be better. Now, I've also ran into a lot of people that don't want to do better. They don't care about doing better. They don't care how much you want for them, how much good you want for them. They want to stay right in the mud that they're in. We got examples of these in movies. It was a movie called Superfly. A lot of people missed the message in Superfly. The 1972 version and the remake. A lot of people missed the message in that movie because they're looking at all the violence and all the action and, you know, the glamour. But the message was that at the end of the movie, when Priest wanted to elevate and move up, his buddy, and I forget his name now, his main man, didn't want to. He wanted to stay right there in the ghetto, right there in the streets, right there in the thick of things. In the remake, he was at the end of the movie, he was in the crap house. And the main character was on a yacht somewhere in a land that, you know, we probably can't even pronounce. And he said he wanted to stay there. That's where he was most comfortable. And there's a term called crabs in a barrel. And a lot of times that term is directed towards Black people, because Black people will pull you down. They don't want you to get out that barrel and pull them up. They rather pull you down because
Okay,
they want to stay
let me
stuck
say this
in
to you,
that
Mr.
barrel.
Brooks. I think it's a mentality. I don't think it has to do with race. I think it's a mentality. I think that, you know, even the rich people don't want the poor to get rich. You know, so I think it's more of a mentality than something that's dealing with race. You know, I definitely agree with what you're saying, that people don't want to see other people get up. And I tell people all the time, first I want to say that a doctor wasn't born a doctor. A doctor was born an innocent child that hung around other children and played with other children. He just made some choices different. And Sherry, I know you're next. I know you had your hand up. I see you. You're next. He made some choices that didn't hold him back. I would like to say it that way. Where others may say, well, hey, I'm gonna hang out till 9 o'clock till the street light come on. He may have been in the house studying or looking at some books or taking some classes, or he may have been going to seminars and doing some things that were considered abnormal to the people that were doing the stuff that they felt were fun. So My point is, he didn't hold himself back. He allowed himself to get where he get to. People, regardless of what race we are in, don't want to see other people grow. This is why they say when you start growing and you start elevating, you start accomplishing things, maybe you need to start changing who you're around, where you're hanging at, because even though they may be happy for you, you may have something that's not happy for you. But at the same time, if you want to continuously grow, you need to be around the people that's going in the direction of where you're going and who can help lift you up, because you're not you're not on a solid foundation yet. So you need to be around people that are doing what you're doing, so it comes second nature, opposed to saying, hey, I'm strong enough to go and sit in the crap game and want to sit in the projects while my friend went where I should be over here on Wall Street or somewhere else doing something different. Go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
Let me respond. Hold up.
Go ahead, Mr. Brooks. I said, go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
Your point is well taken. It is a mentality. It's very much so a mentality. But more has been invested and more energy has been spent in making that mentality more prevalent in our people. We have been taught and beat to hate ourselves. And this is why that term crabs in the barrel is more so used for Black people. That's all I was saying but it's definitely a mentality. Most definitely. It's not a race. It don't have to be a race thing, but you know what I'm saying?
It affects one race more than it affects other races.
Exactly. Thank you for summing that up for me. So yeah, some people don't want to be, up there. They want to stay where they're at, and they don't want to see you up there. And no matter how good you are to those people, they'll hate you. Their hearts will be full of jealousy and envy, and they'll hate you for being successful, for shining, as we say in New York. I told my daughters when they were coming up, you can't keep rubbing yourself up against dull surfaces because they're going to dull you. But no matter how much you try to shine them, you can't shine them up because they ain't got no shine to begin with.
Okay. Miss Sherry, how you doing? Can you unmute yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. Good evening, everyone. I agree wholeheartedly with both. What
It's kind of breaking up. Is she there? Okay, we're going to go to Lisa and we're going to come back to her. Go ahead, Lisa. How you doing?
I'm good. I just want to kind of bounce back. Who I am today is not who I was years ago when I was in the street and I didn't care about people and all I wanted was their money and fed them dope every time I turned around and poisoned them. So I didn't care then. And I had that mentality. It was all me and not them, So, but who I am today is that I care about people. Not that I'm naive, not that I don't see how people really are, but the only person I have to answer to is myself. And when I look back at me, I can say, I at least had that mentality of I gave them a chance. I treated them like a human being because once upon a time, I didn't do that. I didn't treat them as a human being. So, I think with just changing, I think it all starts within yourself and who it is that you want to be as a human being.
Let me ask you this, Lisa. Is it okay at some point to leave someone behind?
Oh, well, sure. I think in my opinion, at some point you have to leave them behind. And that's only just because, you're evolving and that's what the world does. Everybody grows in different directions. And now with saying that, if I could say this, you could have two people and they're both evolving, they're both growing, but one might be growing in music and the other might be growing in the restaurant business, and they're going in separate directions. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing to leave them behind. It just means that they're not growing in their same circle.
Okay. Mr. Parks.
All right, James, how you doing, brother? Welcome everybody. I'm on the highway. Well, I'm on the road. I'm just coming from an event. Yeah. So I'm listening to your perspective, right? And I think it's imperative that you point out that opportunity is what made that doctor a doctor. Not just the fact that he chose to be in a certain circle. See, sometimes you're born in a circle. Like sometimes you're born into a family where, you know, poverty is the norm and you have to work twice as hard to get out of that. But if a person is born into a wealthy, you know, upper middle class family, they have a greater chance of succeeding. So when we succeed out of poverty, right, we are an exception to a rule and not the rule. The system was designed when you're born into poverty to keep you in poverty. Our system is pretty much set up like the feudal system of England, right? Remember, that's our parents, you know, England. So remember, they had the serfs, they had the nobles, they had the, you know, the different levels, and whatever you were born into, that's where you stayed. And really, our system is set up where you can work your way out of being a serf. But when you're born in poverty, you are a serf. So if you are a serf, you're surrounded by what? Other serfs. And remember, like the video you just showed, he said that if you want to be a straight A student, you surround yourself with straight A students. If you surround yourself with straight F students, you're about to be an F student. Like that's a saying that my mentor taught me, right? And if you are born into the hood, into a lower income communities, right, you're more likely to be with individuals who are underachieving. So in order to get out of that circle, you got to get out of your area. That's kind of hard to do when you live in, you know, of the projects, right? Let's take the people. Now, there are people who come out of the projects who are highly successful, but they are an exception to the rule and not the rule. So opportunity is the reason why I'm in the position I'm in now. The opportunity.
Okay, what you did was, I believe the definition of success is actions meets opportunity.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
So now that being the case, I'm saying that I have some family members that grew up. You would consider them the exception. I would consider them hard workers, guys that made sacrifices in order to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. Who said, "Hey," made up their mind and said, "Hey, I'm not going to be in this condition for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do this." Okay. And when they started climbing up that ladder, they started meeting people that was in the career field that they were in. You know, so now when that happened, do they continuously say, "Hey, I'm not going to hang out with these people that's in the career field I'm in," or am I going back in this crap game as Mr. Brooks told us at the beginning of the movie? That's the choice. That's the sacrifice. I'm just pointing something out. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm just saying that's the sacrifice that have to be made. See, everybody has opportunity. Everybody. What you do with your time is up to you. And this is why we're saying you might be holding yourself back. You see what I'm saying? Because me, you, Mr. Brooks, when we was in the system, we did something constructive. I stayed in the library. I stayed in a job where I don't think everybody has.
I don't think everybody has an opportunity. I don't think everybody has an opportunity. I beg to differ. A young cat that I raised, his mother and father were crackheads. Right. He grew up in a house with his little sisters, and you know, he had to fend for himself. It was times when I would be babysitting him, and his parents ain't come home at night. So you know, he was in elementary school. So he had to do things that other kids didn't have to do. You feel what I'm saying? Because his parents, you know, they abandoned their position as parents. So his opportunity, he had to feed his siblings. So he got out there and he started doing what he had to do. At 10 years old, he couldn't work. You feel what I'm saying? He couldn't work, but he could sell drugs. So where was the opportunity for this 10-year-old boy who both his parents, mother was out?
I want to say two things to that. I'm going to say two things to that, and I'm not brushing you off, but you see Mr. Wayne Brooks got his hand up. And but I want to hear what he had to say because he wanted his comments there. But the two things I want to say to that briefly is, one, you was his opportunity. That's what you were. You was his opportunity. It was an opportunity for him to learn different because you was teaching him different. Two, his bigger opportunity of climbing up the ladder comes later on in life. Everything starts with planting the seed, then it grows. Again, the doctor didn't come out a doctor. He made sacrifices and he evolved into a doctor. You was his opportunity. Unfortunate scenario, and we have a whole lot of them. This is why we have the organizations we have to be these type of people that you're speaking of, opportunity, to give them opportunity, to show them opportunity, show up other different ways. So you were his opportunity, Mr. Parks. And I understand tragic situation, but God placed you in his life because you was his opportunity. Go ahead, Mr. Bucks.
Oh, Mr. Carlos is definitely on point, and I understand what you're saying too. But you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps if you ain't got the bootstraps. And opportunity is everything. And if you are in a cycle where you don't see nothing else but what's in that cycle, it is impossible. Well, I'm not going to say impossible because there's always an exception to the rule, but it's next to impossible to see your way out of that cycle. Now, you could have two kids. I'm gonna give you an example. You could have two kids that grew up in the ghetto together and they're trapped in that same cycle. One kid might have the opportunity to go to summer camp. Other kid never got to go to summer camp. This one kid, by going to summer camp and being around affluent children and seeing different things, his mind will open up to that there's something else out there outside of that cycle that he's trapped in. To whereas that same boy, his best friend in the projects, his mind would never see that. So what Carlos is saying is that if you don't know any better, 99.9% of the times you're not going to do any better.
Let's agree on that.
So this is what Carlos was saying. A kid might play basketball and get noticed, and he might go play on an AAU team, a traveling team or whatever. Now he's seeing something outside of the projects. He's seeing something outside of his ghetto. So now he's seeing that the world is bigger than that cycle that he was trapped in. So now he has a different mindset and different opportunities now. And it might be some kids in the ghetto or in that projects that's better than him at basketball. But they're not going to go further than him because now he understands, he has encapsulated in his mind that there's something bigger and better out there. Whereas these other kids don't see that. So opportunity is Carlos is right. It's everything.
Okay,
it's everything.
Let me say, I want to say this with you. At least
you don't know,
you got your hand up.
If you don't know that them opportunities are out there.
Okay, so let me say this. I know you got your hand up, Lisa. You familiar with the football player Tony Martin? Chad Ochocinco? You familiar with all them guys? Mr. Parks, are you familiar with them guys? Tony Martin, Chad Ochocinco played NFL.
Yeah. Chad,
okay.
I know Ochocinco. Yeah, Chad Johnson.
Okay.
I think yeah.
I can name Edgar James, the running back that played for multiple teams. All of them grew up in Liberty City, Miami. That's the projects. That's the hood. All of them went to school in the hood.
James.
Hold on. Let me speak. So now here's the thing here.
All right.
Here's the thing here. They're in the projects, but whoever was mentoring them and whoever was coaching them and teaching them had more exposure, had more knowledge than what they had. So what this person did was channel his exposure, his knowledge to them young guys, and them young guys eventually came out. So they was able to dream, to look and say, hey, I want to be more than this. Okay, so now
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so I said agree with you. I said that earlier, but here's what this is where the disconnect is at. That guy that Carlos Parks is speaking about, Carlos was that guy for him.
Nuh-uh. I was 13 years old, James. I was 13. I couldn't do nothing.
Let me ask you a question. And you knew what he was doing and the struggles he had was wrong, correct?
And you know what I did? I gave him a pack.
Wow.
That's the only way I can help him.
Okay, so let's agree with this.
That's the
Let's
only
agree
way
with that.
I can help him. I gave him a pack, home.
Okay,
He
so
saw
you're
her.
you're
I'm
breaking up.
saying, I said the only way I could help him was to do what I was doing. Like, listen, I don't know no other way to help him. He was 10 years old outside hustling while his mother was on the block, prostituting. Now you name these individuals who exceeded in sports, right? So I forgot how many people make it to the.
We're not gonna go with
NFL
statistics because we go with
year,
different things.
right?
I have
But
cousins.
it's
I
not a
have
lot.
cousins that
But
grew up in the
those are
hood.
exceptions. You continue to name exceptions.
Okay.
So hold up. You continue to name exceptions, right? But how many people from Liberty City didn't make it, James? You just naming the people who made it. Do you think more people made it to the NFL or made it out of Liberty City than didn't?
I feel like okay, listen. I feel like I made it. I feel like I made it out of the hood.
I'm listening.
Okay. So now what I don't worry about is I go
No,
in
you
and I
didn't,
plant
James.
seeds.
No. You
Let me know
didn't
when you
make it,
finish
James.
talking, because
Like
I'm not gonna try to overtalk you,
did 2
Carlos.
decades in. Nah, you said you feel like you made it, right?
Uh-huh.
You did 2 decades in prison.
Uh-huh. And what's wrong with that?
You did 2 decades in prison.
Nelson
It ain't-
McDowell done things. Malcolm X done time. Should I name all these great people that done time in prison?
That's not
that
the
done
point.
decades, but was still productive? Man Barry, who you know about,
That's not
done
the
time.
point.
Okay, so doing time make you a bad person?
No, that's not the point.
So
here.
help me
The
understand your point then.
All right, if I will. You said you feel like you made it.
That's
You've
what I
made it
feel.
now. You've made it now after failing first.
Okay,
So
what's wrong with
prison,
that?
you want me to make the point, or like this is I'm making a point. So the fact that I went to prison is not a good thing, right? That wasn't something I'm proud of, right? So that was a period in my life where I did not pass the test. I was not successful in life. I am now. This is post haste. This is after prison. That doesn't negate what happened in the earlier part of my life. So you're successful now. You're doing right now, James. But you can't say that when you went, that time when you was away in prison for 20 years, you can't say that you made it out of Liberty City. You was in prison. So we already know that if you're in the inner city, right? If you're an inner city black youth, especially if you're in the game, you're gonna either go to prison or you're gonna go into the dirt. Right? So either way, you fail. Either way, if you go to prison or if you go into that dirt, you fail. So I failed. I went to prison. I know 2 of my homeboys who was hustling who didn't go to prison. The majority of them did. You feel what I'm saying? So the fact that you went away means, okay, I messed up. I slipped right there. But now I've corrected myself. But that doesn't change the fact that you did go down the wrong path.
I'm hearing you, and I'm gonna let some other people comment.
All right.
We're gonna start off with Sasha Manning, then we're gonna go to Lisa, and then we have Mr. Jones, and then we Aisha. Everybody has their hand up, so I'm gonna let them respond. Go ahead, Sasha Manning.
Okay, so I'm looking at this slightly different. Dr. Marimba Annie, who wrote a book called Yorugu, speaks about the systems, the European assembly that exists for power. And a lot of people equate success with power. And unfortunately, that is not that shouldn't be your definition, shouldn't be, but it exists. The power construct, or the power of concept of success, comes from a system that is a Hellenistic system that destroys a history of destroying melanated and indigenous people and women, right? Or families. It's focused on that. So if you're constantly looking for this power and your success is defined by it, you're defining yourself by this particular system. So all the things that's being discussed right now is systemic, or a symptom of this European assembly. So when you're looking at these symptoms, you'll never find the success. It will always be temporary because it's always connected to this concept of power that has been manipulated, abused, redefined. It defines your worth and it doesn't recognize your value. And so if you're not recognized by your value, which is connected by your ancestors, all of this is naught. Because not a car, not a house, not a contract or any of that, will value you like your family actually does, like the relationships that you actually have that continues to combine you and never separate you. That concept in search of power is always a concept of separation. Because if you're melanated, if you're indigenous, or if you're a woman in that capacity, or if you're a part of a family that says that being together is more important than the worth of power, those that want power will always see you as an enemy and always use that construct to have a reason to destroy you. And they're the ones that are in power. Get it? So with that fact, the alternative exists. And that comes from, and that change comes from those that are what you call older elders, recognizing their accountability, because we are the ones that are responsible for giving the access to the youth and the children like they should, to be able to achieve past us. It can't go any other way. And sometimes the elder does not have that experience, but they're supposed to make the way. Not to say that you'll have a successful engineer, and that successful engineer comes from a cobbler. But that cobbler made that way for that engineer to be able to be created, to do better than that parent, to be able to bring back to the family. And so if family is not the core, and if the responsibility of the future is not the elder's responsibility to be accountable and make the way, then all of this is for naught. And that's it.
Thank you. Lisa? Lisa, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The topic again was?
Are you holding yourself back?
Okay. So I'm just throwing that out there because I know a lot of people watch this show, and we talk about a lot of different things. And I'm thinking, first and foremost, let me say this. I grew up in foster care. I was in and out of foster homes, and I was told tremendous times I would never amount to nothing. Is that why I went to prison? I don't think so. I made bad choices. Now I'm an adult and I have to make better choices. I just think that at this point during this conversation, instead of going into, and I don't disagree with what anybody says, but where's the answers?
The answers is you have to change your mentality. You know what we do as the humanitarian people is we go out to the people that don't have the exposure, that don't know better, and we teach them different. For example, the community event that you had, it was a bunch of kids out there that were playing. We taught them different. We talked to them. This is what we do. So again, I agree. If they're never exposed to anything but the environment they're around, then they don't know nothing to grow. But I'm saying this is what we're doing now. We go out and we expose people. Me, myself, I'm saying just because I went to prison doesn't define me. That doesn't define James Jones. Just because I've been to prison don't mean I fail. So what I personally feel like that it helped me become who I am today. You see what I'm saying? Which is a better person. Before, I was who I was. So now again, one of the subtitles of this actual topic is the mentality. You see what I'm saying? So we have to look at and challenge. So this is good and healthy what you're saying on the show because it's showing two different perspectives. You see what I'm saying? Now I'm saying, okay, Carlos is giving us a scenario. The guy was 10 years old, but Carlos knew different. And he whether he contributed to the guy by giving him some drugs, I'm sure he conveyed to this guy, hey man, it's a messed up scenario. This is something, let's do this, let's do that. I can only, I don't want to put no words in his mouth, but I'm sure he gave him something good because that's who Carlos Parks is. He does good, but he did what he felt like the best thing for him to do at the age of 13, but my point is we are the people that go to expose something different to others. And that's why it's to me, we can't have a show where we always all agree. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to be that. Mr. Jones.
Hello, hello, hello. All right, Lisa, you make me a little giddy because you're trying to bring us back on topic. I really wanted to respond to Mr. Brooks and to Mr. Parks. I know Mr. Parks is driving. I hope he is listening. With regard to where you were at and where you're at today to try to determine success, all of us that have life have hope, and that means our book is not complete. You know, whomever you believe in, God, Allah, whomever, your mission is not complete. It's not defined until you're finished. The first 10 years, I could have been this, and then the last 30 years, this is what he's had for me. That can be a success. Maybe I needed these trials, tribulations, these stumbles in order to be successful. So, you know, just because you went to prison, just because you weren't always winning, you know, you can still be successful. Mr. Brooks has been incarcerated for a long time, using you because I want to, Mr. Brooks, and you are a role model, and we talk about you all the time, Miami, man. You are a success story, even though you went to prison, even though, you know, Carlos Parks has been to prison from bricks to bricks. You know, man, these are success stories. You know, there's bumps in the road. You don't win every day. You don't win every day. You don't win all the time. You might start your righteousness late in the game when I'm 60 years old and I decide to see right, and God will see me as a success when I get there. Well done. That's what I want to hear him say when I get there. So, you know, the timing doesn't necessarily have to determine you know, just because you went to prison, and that's not what he's saying. I sort of kind of agree with Mr. Brooks and Carlos as far as the gentleman having no opportunity, no exposure. There's something, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but I want you to just chew on this: potential, experience, or exposure. Somebody hit me with the pie back in the 80s, but what is the best trait to have? And I've learned that it varies. Potential, you want, like in a relationship, you want your wife to have potential, experience, or exposure. Don't answer these, and then put in your job, then put it in, you know, your coworkers, all these things. So I do know that, yeah, if you don't have hope, you don't have exposure, not gonna say exposure, if you don't have a chance, then the guy's doomed from the start. You know, this 10-year-old boy is not facilitating life like a 10-year-old. He has to feed his siblings, he has to be an adult. So it's a whole different dynamic, you know. And if he came out of that, success for him might have been feeding his brother and sister, not going to jail, keeping them safe, keeping the bad guys away from, you know, different degrees, different variations and all that there. So yeah, going to jail, that doesn't make you not necessarily a success story. And I believe that all of you guys that I've met are successful and are stronger than a lot of guys out here because you've overcome that silliness. You know, Dwayne Brooks, man, if your story stops today, and it's not going to stop today, bro, but if it stops today, I would deem you a success. You beat the system, man. Carlos Parks, you gave them people back that time that they gave you. Kevin Haynes, you know, he'd be making me like the 924C. I know that because of Kevin Haynes and my brother, but Kevin makes me laugh. You know, stacking up, you guys are success stories. You've exposed, you didn't win every day, but you still are success stories. Michael Jordan, LeBron James don't win every day, but you know, job well done. You know, I got a lot more to say, and I do appreciate what Sasha's saying. I informally talk to a therapist for my mental whatever, and she often speaks of that value, you know, versus success. That's amazing because she speaks of that there. The simplest people, the people that have the least, can be the more valued. Grandma, Nana, you know, they are successful because of what they nurture, what they raise, what they put out. You know, a proud parent is successful because he put his son through college and he's giving him the right morals. That's enough, though. You know, I could go on and on. I just got a lot of things on my mind, and I hear y'all. You know, but yeah, you know, that's it.
All right, thank you, Aisha. I almost forgot your name. You was over there, you know, bobbing so much. Go ahead, Aisha.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, and I appreciate that perspective because this definitely took a whole nother turn. I agree wholeheartedly. Like, life is a journey, not a destination. Okay, and if you woke up today and you're with sound mind, breath in your body, use of your limbs, congratulations, you are a success. And just to kind of touch on the part about Carlos Parks telling that story, I totally, my heart just breaks because there's so many stories that are like that. And in that situation, it is very sad to say, but I'm gonna say, like, you helped that young man to be able to be to do something, to do something to feed his family. And in that moment, that was a success. Please don't beat yourself up or feel like, you know, you being there and not being able to show him a more positive or what's considered more positive way out. I mean, you helped. And I'm sure his family got fed and his needs were met in that moment. And hopefully that young man has had a better journey going forward. That is tough. What's the saying you said, Mr. Jones? Success is where opportunity meets what?
Action.
Action. All right. So to bring it back on topic, right? I am holding myself back from my goal weight because I do not get up in the morning when I have the time to go to the gym and put that work in like I've done before and seen results. And that is a choice that I am making, and I am holding myself back in that area. There are times, if I'm being just completely transparent, in a lot of places in my life that I can say I truly probably hold myself back just by second guessing myself, or sometimes not fully applying myself in a way, right? I might make a choice to go and do something fun versus doing the things that I just don't want to do, or the things that seem like they are just too hard to do or have been lingering for some time. Instead of, I do have control over that, right? All of us are people who are successful, and there are still probably many ways that we are holding ourselves back, even in relationships, right? We can refuse to put ourselves in other people's shoes, or sometimes just not being very considerate of other people's situations, conditions. I was standing in a Starbucks the other day getting my coffee, and they had this handwritten sign, and it says something like, the person that's standing next to you really might be doing their very best to keep everything together, just to stand there. Like, treat people with kindness. You don't know what someone else is going through. And I can hold myself back by just not treating someone else kindly, or not, you know, me being wrapped up in my own stuff, neglecting or failing to identify with someone else. There are ways financially, I eat out way too much. My brother told y'all I need to make a salad. I can do that. It's something that I can do. I do well. I should be doing in my weight loss goal, dream weight, right, for myself. But I'm keeping myself back from that because now I'm spending my money and I'm not meeting my goal weight. So there are so many ways, and I mean, I could go deeper. We could talk about, you know, education, or even sometimes just reaching out and connecting with people. I think as you do become more successful, as you do elevate, there are times that you will have to leave the room where you are the smartest person in the room. You are going to have to be a little bit more vulnerable, dig deeper, and find that humility inside of you to be able to be in the room amongst people that know more than you, are more versed and diverse in different things than you are. A lot of times we can hold ourselves back because we want to be the smartest person in the room. But if you really have a growth mindset, that becomes boring, and you will quickly see that those people, places, and things that used to bring you joy or bring you satisfaction, or what some may call success, it's no longer even satisfying you. There will come a point where you will have to change, to evolve, and to grow. And that's my spiel. I'm done.
Thank you.
I'll give it back
Cherie,
to you.
thank you. Cherie, I wanted to You know, I'm looking at your responses on Facebook where you're saying some people never make it out, period. I agree. I want you to give me your perspective on this topic because, you know, I'm looking at your response and I want you to be heard.
You must already know that my leg is over here shaking. I'm so glad to be back with you all. I've been missing you all for a couple of weeks. So first, I must say, Mr. Dwayne Brooks, I'm so glad to see you. Hello. So, are you holding yourself back? I think there are aspects in everyone's life where yes, you are holding yourself back because you're letting somebody else put you in a box, right? And a lot of times we're afraid to get out of that box, to step out of that box, because somebody gonna say, oh no, you can't do that. Oh no, you were this or you were that. So I didn't hear all of what Carlos was saying because I was trying to log on, but Mr. Jones, I'm gonna use you for an example, right? Yes, you were incarcerated for 20 years. You could have came home and said, okay, I'm home. That's it. I'm just happy to be home. But instead, I remember, and I can say firsthand, we talked about this years ago at MGM, and you had a dream, right? You had some things that you wanted to do and you wanted to give back to your community. And here we are today, right? The Reinvention Center is a reality. It's no longer a dream. So those things from the past, like right now, we are in a critical time with our youth, right? I know everybody, when you turn on the news, when you go on social media, you see what's happening with our youth. And so the things that we need to change are going to come from those people that have been incarcerated, right? That's who's going to be able to connect to our youth. It's going to come from a Dwayne Brooks who was wrongly incarcerated and kept fighting instead of just sitting there and say, well, woe is me. They gave me my sentence and I'm just going to sit here, you know, and take it. No, Aisha, who believed that her brother was innocent and kept fighting and kept fighting and kept fighting. And it was hard. I know there were times when she wanted to give up, right? But she didn't. She kept going forward. So yes, that's an example of when you're not going to let somebody hold you back. But there are other aspects. She might not, you know, make that salad every day, right? But, you know, she has these other things that are important to her. You know, I would just say we have to teach each other and hold each other accountable for going to the next level and making that dash count. You know, we all have a beginning and we all have an end. It's what you do in between, in the middle, that's going to make the difference. And the only person holding us back is us. So, you know, if they don't, I think someone always says, you know, if they don't invite you to their table, you build it. If that table gets full, you build a bigger one, right? But you keep going. You of course, we're all going to be held back in certain areas, sometimes relationships, sometimes traumas from our past. Yes, things hold us back, but it's what you do to move past that and keep forging forward.
Thank you. Sasha, Manti.
Greetings. It got a little louder behind me, so it may not have been as quiet as before. I'm going to be a little bit controversial in the sense that what we view as success being held back is not having a purpose. If you don't have the purpose as family, if you don't have the purpose as the children, like, you know, at this point, at whatever age you are, you know, past 18, whatever age you are, if you're still thinking about yourself and you don't have the vision of the children ahead of you, whether it be you had children, you don't have children, the neighbor's children, however, the environment that we're creating, that should be the purpose. And if your success is not connected to that divine purpose, then that is what's going to hold you back. That is those holdbacks, because again, it's how you define between value and worth. Are you valuing life as the successes divinely provided for the future of us all? You know, Whitney, I believe the children of our future or are our future. Yeah, that's real. That's very real. We have a responsibility and accountability of that. And so if we are selfishly lowering ourselves to the worth of our jobs that defines who we are, it's not gonna get us anywhere.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, I know your arm getting tired, brother.
Yeah, I don't know how to put the
We
thing
with
up.
you. We with you though. We
My
with
sister
you,
didn't
brother.
tell me
We're
how to
with
do
you.
that.
We're with you. Next week you'll be running this thing, but go ahead.
Listen, coming out of prison, I'm in the frame of mind where I'm not letting anything hold me back, including myself. Sometimes I scare my family, and I understand why they're scared because, I've been gone a long time, but I don't have the time to be scared. I have to press forward. And the thing that I don't agree with is that it was good to be in prison. You said you came out a better man. I think Carlos said something similar. I would have rather had a chance to be a better man without ever seeing prison. And there's a mentality that's going on that most people don't know about.
Wishing you well. A local
That most people don't know about. And these people are not holding themselves back, and they're successful, very wealthy. And their mentality is that slavery was good for us, our ancestors, and now especially the people that's living today, Black people, as we call. They say slavery is good for us. I think I mentioned this when I was in prison on the phone one time. The documentary was called Angry and White in America. And they espouse this way of thinking, this mentality, and they feel like, they did us a favor by enslaving our ancestors and that we benefited from that. So when we say that, and it's a good thing that, we bettered ourselves while in prison and came out better people, but there's no pride in having been in prison. There's no honor. It's a shameful thing. Even for myself, I didn't even commit a crime, but to spend all of those years in prison, 35 years, that's shameful to me. And I was in there with a bunch of guys that assimilated to that mentality where, they were proud. They walked around, they practiced their walks, and they were so proud in the middle of prison. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And you mentioned that, or Carlos mentioned that, that's a failure. Prison should not be considered our college or our university. That's a failure on all levels. I'm 57 years old now, and I'm out here doing my best to get back to life, but for my parents, the investment hasn't paid off. At my age now, my parents should have their feet kicked up, buying anything they want to buy, going anywhere they want to go, and doing whatever they want to do in their later life. That's when the investment pays off. So, yeah, we hold ourselves back in so many ways that, are unconscious to us just by, signing these contracts that, oh, I'm good now, I'm better now. Like somebody said earlier, it's a journey. It's not a destination. And for any of us to feel like we made it, we're successful, when we don't know what tomorrow brings, we got to be out our minds. We got to be out our cotton picking minds. Because in the next 5 years or 10 years, if we get that, we might look back on these times and be like, wow, I was really nowhere near where I'm at now. So for any of us to, you know, say that, you know, yeah, I made it, I'm successful, I'm this, that, and the third, it's ludicrous. And that's another form of holding ourselves back, because we don't know how high we can go, how far we can go. So to sit back and say that, yeah, I made it, I'm successful, you settling now.
Okay, let me say this to you, Mr. Brooks. I said I made it out. I never said I made it, and I never said I was successful. I said I made it out. I believe
I wasn't talking about just you.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just speaking for, you know, I want to illustrate this. I made it out. I'm going to say this for me. Dwayne Brooks should not have never been in jail. There's no question, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Mr. Brooks went into jail, wrongfully convicted, and you should have never been in jail. I did what I did. I did what I did. And I can honestly say, if I didn't go to jail when I went to jail for the amount of time that I went to jail, because I went to jail twice. And the first time, it was like a kiddie camp to me. You know, I see this on different things where it was like a reunion. I went in and, you know, I can fight, so I wasn't afraid to fight, you know, and, you know, again, I did a couple of years and I was home. You know, this time they laid me down. When the first time I went, I didn't try to do anything to make myself a better person. I just went in and done my time. The second time I went in, I don't agree with the amount of time that they gave me, but I'm saying that right there might have been my bump in the road, or that was the creator sitting me down and say, hey, now it's time for you to focus and get yourself together. I didn't like yourself, because you can't convince me that you used to hang around them guys. You meant to observe them practicing their walk and you're doing all the crazy stuff in prison. But that, you know, I didn't hang around them because I knew I had a bigger purpose. And when I came home, I had some things that I wanted to accomplish. You know, so I feel that, to me, fail is not a bad thing. Failure. I'm not saying that going to prison is a failure, but I'm saying failing or trying something and not being successful in it the first time or whatever, it's not a bad thing because you gain experience. Also, to me, failing means first attempt in learning. If I don't go to prison, Mr. Dwayne Brooks, James Jones either in prison for the rest of his life or Mr. James Jones is killed. You know, I had no regard for human life. It was all about what I wanted and what my goal was. So it may have, because you didn't commit no crime and you should have never been in there, I understand your position. I look back on myself now that I'm older and wiser and say, man, you're crazy. You was crazy. They sent me to Atlanta USP, maximum security prison, 40-foot wall, underground, 40-foot wall, above ground. And my first day there, I seen some guys, 2 states, Detroit and Atlanta, on the yard, fighting and stabbing each other. This is the environment that they put me in from the start. I stayed in that environment for 9 years by choice because I got comfortable. I got in the cycle. I was doing what I was doing. I had to consider one of the best jobs in the prison. I'm doing underground things and I'm doing whatever I'm doing. I didn't want to leave, Mr. Brooks. How about the system forced me out of that prison, that maximum security prison, and go to a lower security prison? Because my point said, you know the custody level. My custody level was a low, and I was in a maximum security prison by my choice. And when I came from that maximum security prison and went to the low, when they forced me out, I couldn't relate. Because I was so used to seeing all this unnatural stuff going on, that to me, this was salt. I didn't want to be around this. You know, I couldn't sleep because I wasn't locked in the cell. When everybody walked by my cubicle, I jump up. I go to the shower with my boots on, because this is what I used to do in the penitentiary. I'm telling my homeboy, hey, come stand by the shower while I take a shower, so ain't nobody gonna run in and try to get me while they think I'm at my vulnerable point. You know, and I took this to the low. And I never unpacked my stuff when I got to that low security prison, because I was saying I was going back to the medium security prison or the highest security, because they said to me, I'm going back. I can't function here. But what made me change my mindset was, An officer came to me and said, "Hey, James, I ain't telling you what to do. You're a man. But if you can't make it in this low security, you're not gonna make it in the street. Because what you see in this security right here, this level here, this is the people that's in the street." And that's what made me start finding a way to be able to get past where I was at. To me, doing a service for people is just, it's a success for me. Anytime I can go and help somebody else, I've been, in my eyesight, I've been successful. It's not about money. It's not about material things. It's about how much I can help. So everybody has a different definition of what success is, but I love, I enjoy, and I feel like my purpose is to help. Before, I just wanted what I wanted, and you better not get in my way. So, I understand why you're saying what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Prison shouldn't be looked at as a success, and I'm not saying it was successful. I'm just saying it helped me become a better person, because if not, I would be dead or I would be in prison for the rest of my life. Because of prison, I'm here in the capacity where I can help. Cherie, I see your hand up, Mr. Parks. You got another hand, so I see. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to comment on that real quick, James, and I put 2 videos in the chat. With this conversation that we're having today and thinking about our youth, I would ask everybody to go look at those 2 videos. That group, that Making Moves group, was a group of youth from right here in DC that I had the privilege to work with from December of last year to our spring break trip in Atlanta. And specifically, the young lady, Janiyah, she's gonna speak on the News 4 interview, and she was not gonna go on that trip. So when we talk about, are you holding yourself back? She was afraid to fly. She had never flown before, and she wasn't gonna fly. And I prayed about it, and they had even told me to cancel her ticket. And I said, no. I said, we should talk to her because she's gone through this whole program, and for her not to go, it was a short flight to Atlanta. Somebody needs to talk to her. And so they said, well, call her. And I said, okay, I will. And I had a conversation with her, and I said, hey, I heard you're not going with us. And she said, yeah, I'm scared. And I said, is that the only reason why you're not going? And she said, yeah. And I had just heard from my business coach in a training that we had about our fear, not letting what is fear really, right? And we talked about that. And so I used some of what I learned from that conversation. And I said, is that the only reason you're not going? That's it. Just fear. And she pretty much said, yeah. And I said, well, what if your daughter needed you? Because her daughter's in another state. And she said, well, if it was an emergency, and I purposely did not say if it was an emergency, but she said, if it was an emergency, then I would go. I said, so what's the difference now? I said, the emergency is that you taking this trip and learning how to travel will open doors for you that if you don't take it, you'll never know. I said, and it'll not only help you, it'll help your daughter too. And I said, but I don't want to put any pressure on you. I said, but if I see you on Tuesday, if you come to class, then I know you're going. I said, I won't cancel your ticket until 5 o'clock Tuesday. And that young lady showed up. And not only did she show up, but she had a good time. And when you see, I won't say anymore because I want you all to look at that news interview. And not only her, there's another young man named DeAndre. And I want you to listen to what he says about not ever having left the city, right? And what the experience did for him. And so when people ask me, and I just posted on my Facebook page earlier, you know, about my travel business, and I told people pretty much I have some lofty goals, right? And my goals aren't just tied to money and not just tied to my children. There are other children, and there's a community out there that, you know, my travel business will fund my nonprofit. So I'll be able to give back, right? It'll help me not have to go to a 9 to 5. So those are my dreams, but that may not, somebody else may be okay with that. They may just want to retire and just sit at home and be fine with the life that they've lived. That's not me. So I'm gonna stop letting people keep me in a box just because they feel like, well, you're doing too much, or, you know, you're gonna be tired, or, okay, yes, I'm gonna be tired, right? But somebody has to do these things, right? And all of us together, like, it's what, 9:30 on a Sunday night. Any of us could be anywhere, but we're here. So I just want to say we have to just for the, you know, you work with those who want to work, right? And you just keep doing what we do to keep on growing. That's why this is called the Growth Hour.
All right, Mr. Parks. I see your hand up, Aisha. He had his hand up first. Mr. Parks. We'll go to him when he comes back. Go ahead, Aisha.
So I just wanted to just kind of piggyback on my brother speaking, Dwayne, when he spoke about being a success and what's successful and who said success, right? I definitely said each and every one on this line is a success. And again, stripping away the tangibles, right? The financial stuff, the stuff, the houses, the cars, or whatever one may consider to look like success, right? That, to me, that's not what's important. What's important is my family today. I'm not promised tomorrow. So I'm not worried so much about tomorrow because I have made decisions and done things to take care of whatever it is that I may leave behind. And that's what that is. That's done, or you know, hopefully every day is a new opportunity that I can grow that. And then I wanted to just kind of touch upon when he said going to prison is not a success, and don't get it twisted. That was a circumstance, that was a situation that could have been any one of us that happened to Dwayne Brooks, wrongfully incarcerated. There are thousands, right? Prison, that was a situation, that was a circumstance. However, your parents have always been proud of who you are, their son. Never mind what you could buy for them, what you could give for them, what you could do for them. Your sister has always been proud of her brother, regardless of what you could do, what you could buy, what you could provide. That didn't matter. I'm proud of the man, and don't want to get it confused that prison makes someone, or made you unsuccessful, or made it shameful. Not ashamed of you. The situation, the circumstance, the fact that it even happens every day, that is shameful, but that's not your burden to carry. You and you are absolutely a success in the sense that you've walked out of there in this way. Your parents look at it. Mommy is quick to tell and show anybody, this is my son, and that is successful. You coming home, you getting out of that, you making it out of that. Like Mr. Jones said, he considers himself a success. He made it out of those projects. Regardless to what happened along the way, here he still stands today, not 6 feet under. Again, if you woke up this morning with breath in your body and a sound mind and use of your limbs and activities, you are a success. And every day is a new opportunity to create, to grow, to build. Hopefully we can make the best decisions for our lives that will bring on prosperity, right? But again, tomorrow is not promised.
Yeah,
And
it's just a slight thing that you're right. Everything you said is correct. I'm not disagreeing with anything, but let me just add this real quick. What I'm saying is to deem myself, and this is just how I feel, the way I see it, to deem myself a success, or for you to deem yourself a success, is holding ourselves back. We've had some success, we've had some successes, but we don't know how far we can go, how far we can grow. This is the growth hour. So to deem ourselves a success already right now, and if we get a chance to live another 5 or 10 or 20 or however many years, and now we're looking back to 2023 and seeing how far we've come from 2023 in 2040 or so, or what have you, the success might be even, more tenfold. So
I agree with that. But then back to the topic.
It's just a slight thing. I feel like just saying like, I'm a success, I made it. It feels like that's gonna limit me because I'm satisfied with what I have now, where I'm at now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying we've all had successes, but to deem yourself a success ends your story. This is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, nobody's had success, but what I'm saying is that we have so much more to grow as long as we have life.
And we made a choice right now to sit amongst these people. I could easily be having happy hour with my girlfriends, but for the last year and some change, I've been sitting, I've changed the people that I've been around. I've been sitting in here. I've been listening to the minds. I've been changing the people, the places, all of the things that I am spending my time doing, right? And every day I'm doing something towards being more successful. So it's not a stop ever.
Can I add on, James?
Yeah, go ahead. So you was next anyway. We had called you.
I had to step off for a minute, but Dwayne summed it up perfectly. And I'll share this, right? I just left a lecture with KRS-One. Just left. That's where I just came from. The teacher was teaching. And when I say he taught on the same subject, he said exactly what Dwayne Brooks just said. Exactly, verbatim. On the stage, he said, I don't consider myself a success, no matter what I've done. I don't consider myself a success because I'm not done. I'm not finished. I'm still hungry. So I get it. I feel exactly what Dwayne just said. You people be like, listen, when they say, man, Carlos, I'm so proud of you. Man, you've done so. Man, I get upset. I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that, but I'm just starting. When you coming from where we came from, I will never. This is exactly what Dwayne Brooks just said. KRS-One said the exact same thing. He said, when you consider yourself a success, that means you're done. That means you're done. And to add to what another thing, right? When he specified that you have some successes, if I run track for a season and I race against one team and I win the 100-yard dash, which is what I did, right? But if I go to this other school and I don't win, I place third or fourth or whatever, right? Am I a success? I succeeded at a couple of these different events. Then I failed at one. You know, I might have succeeded. I might still be a success. I might still be considered successful in your eyes, right? That's the point I'm making when I say we made a mistake with prison. We lost a race. That ain't over. We still running. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
we still running like Aisha said, we still here. So even though I don't consider prison a success, it was a period in my life where I failed. I didn't win that race, but I'm still running, right? And I ain't saying I'm winning no race now, but I'm ahead. I'm ahead, right? They in the back right now. So if I keep pace, you know, I'm projected to win this race. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a way we're seeing it. And I don't come from like an emotional view on things, right? It's always logic. You know, I'm applying logic to it, right? It just doesn't make sense to me logically to consider myself a success at this point. Yeah, I might be up in the race, but
oh, James, can I please, because I do not want to forget this point, because
go ahead.
I hear
I wrote it down,
Carlos,
so go ahead. I wrote down.
and I don't want to negate anything that Carlos or that Dwayne is saying, but yes, you said the speaker, he taught on it. That sounds great, but we have a group of youth that don't even know how to walk. So they can't run. They don't know what that success is like, right? You said, yes, we're hungry. We're hungry and we keep going, right? But they don't even know how to eat. They have no one teaching them. So like you said, going to prison, you consider that a failure?
Yeah, without a doubt.
We have a population that going to prison, that's their expectation, right?
That was my expectation. That was my expectation.
That's their expectation. So they need some of these people that are considering themselves, the rest of the world sees them as a success or successful. That's who we need to reach, those people. Because otherwise, if you don't take them out of that environment, like you said, they're expecting one or two things to happen to them. If you talk to a young person, most of them will tell you, no one ever asked me about my dreams. Vision board, what's that? Right? They're just trying to make it to the next day. Because if they look to the left and they look to the right, the people that they started school with aren't making it. They're either in prison or they're dead. And this is an everyday recurring thing. So while we are worried about some of the semantics of who says successful, not successful, we gonna have to take it back and take a step back and go to the root of the problem, right? Because they need people like you who've had those failures, right, to tell them what it's really like. Because a lot of them don't have anyone, and they're getting thrown into the system. And you know how it is when we have conversations about the system, right? We have people that don't look like them trying to help them and really don't know. They have the education because they're considered successful, right? With the PhDs and not negating any education, right? Not negating that at all, but they don't really understand what some of these youth are going through. So you can't help.
Well, we definitely need to have a discussion on that. I see where you're going with it, right? And I would love to build with you on it, but I know James wants to keep us on point, right?
Yes,
so,
because we really, and I'm sorry, I'm just very passionate about this.
Yeah, we'll make a topic. I see where you're going with it. I'm with it.
Because there was a lot of conversation.
I'm active.
Right, there was a lot of conversation from adults just this past week. And I know you all heard about Baby K, right? It was all over social media, all over the news. But what people didn't talk about was there a lot of people that we claim to be successful now, that when they were 14 and 15, they could have easily, they one decision away from being Baby K. So now when people are having these conversations about where the mother, where the father, and he's a menace to society, and he's this, and he's a murderer, and he's this, and he's that. There are some people right now that are running these organizations and these nonprofits and these mayors and these you name it, all kind of businesses, but they were Baby K too. Right?
Let me say this. Man, I love the show. You know, I love it because I realize that we're not gonna always be on the same page with things, but having a conversation about it is what helps other people grow and help us grow as well. I want to say this, that as a kid, every time you do something good, whether you graduate from kindergarten, they award you. They plant in your head that you made, that you accomplished something. We may say success, but you successfully completed one level of school. Now you're going to the next. That builds the confidence up in the youth of saying, hey, I can accomplish anything, I can overcome anything. So it's a psychological thing. So when you win or you do anything, you get, you get not anything, but some things you get an award in order to show that, hey, you successfully completed this. I want to say this here. I think it was a success, as my brother said earlier, about Mr. Dwayne Brooks coming home from prison. I don't think that they had any intention of him ever coming home from prison. I think he was successful in doing that. Shouldn't have been in prison, and no, prison is not something that we raise up and say, hey, this is the place to go, and we're trying to make it as if it's okay to go there. It's not okay to go to prison, but I'm going to say that, and I'm going to share some information that some know, some don't know. I had 1,380 months. That's what I was sentenced to, 115 years in the federal system. I successfully gave them back 90 years. I was never supposed to come home. I went to trial, got found guilty, filed some motions, 2255, and the government came back to me and said, if you withdraw your motion, we'll take 90 years off of your prison, off your sentence. They call it a post-trial agreement. Never heard of. Never heard of. When you're sentenced, when you're convicted, you're sentenced, fight it out in an appeals court. They came to me 10 o'clock at night. My lawyers came to the jail 10 o'clock at night and said, hey, they said they'll dismiss 27 counts, take off 90 years of your sentence if you just go ahead and agree to waive your appeals, don't fight no more, and just do the 25 years. And I took that. To me, that was successful. To a lot of guys, it motivated a lot of other guys to keep fighting and get in the law library and do what they had seen me do. And I also motivated me to help them, because now I can't fight for myself, so I'm going to win through you. That was my mentality. And people were getting their sentences off, and I was still feeling like, hey, I was successful at what I was doing. I wanted to get that 25 years off of me through them. So I understand the word. You don't want people to feel like that, hey, they reached a plateau in their life, so there's no need to grow. I've heard and I've seen where, people have different appetites for different things in life. I got a grill appetite. I want the biggest of everything. When I get a success, it makes me say, hey, I can do something even bigger. My goal is set even bigger now. I don't, and we got to teach the youth. Just because you win one award, that's not the end. We got to continue to go. So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. We have to teach them, hey, don't get stuck here, because this is not the end. And that's our job. That's our job. So I understand, and I get what y'all are saying, but just to be able to do something, I put together after doing 20-something years. Your sister was a part of it. She came down to DC. We had a very powerful summit, man. Mr. Parks was a part of it. A lot of people here was a part of it. Very powerful. This is the guy that done 22 years in prison that came from Liberty City and has all type of lawyers, judges, prosecutors, probation officers, politicians, filmmakers, everybody in the theater to come hear what he had to say and what Aisha had to say about Dwayne Brooks. The Innocent Project, everybody's in there. To me, that was a moment to be proud of. Again, think about it. I'm this guy on the corner with this big pistol in my pants. Can't even stand up straight because the pistol bigger than me. Now here I am in a suit talking to these same people that put me in prison.
And that's a success.
I think that it was a great accomplishment. I was successful in what I accomplished in doing.
Exactly.
Okay, so now I'm still doing it. I'm still going.
And you're gonna
You know,
have
your
some more successes.
Absolutely. Life is a series of successes. We're not saying we're gonna stop. Your sister's aware of a program, and a lot of people are aware of a program that I'm putting together for the kids, that what Cherie is speaking of and what we're speaking on. I'm putting together something for the kids right now. And because I was able to accomplish what I accomplished so far, I have the support of the people I need in order to make that program work.
And hopefully it'll be a success.
Well, it's going to be a success. It's going to be a success. Let me say it this way. Inshallah, it's going to be a success.
Yes, indeed. And many more successes after that.
Absolutely. And at the end, I just want the kids to say, Alhamdulillah. That's what I want them to say.
Alhamdulillah.
Anybody else, any comments? Sasha Manny, I apologize. I see your hand up. Go ahead.
It was cool, but I noticed Kevin had something to say earlier. Kev, you want to? No? All right, sir. So,
you sure, brother? I apologize.
So I wanted to mention, because there was something that somebody said. I was so enthralled with what everybody was adding to this conversation, but there was something that said, oh yes, I think it was Cherie, that something about no, it was you, Mr. Jones, about being awarded with every level of success that you come, high school, junior high school, different types of rewards. And I go back to an old African way. I knew a family, I have some family from Sudan. And so I would ask them, I said, hey, I asked the son, did you tell your mother I love you today? He goes, no. And I said to mom, I said, did you tell your son I love you today? She goes, oh, we don't do that. I'm like, what? What do you mean we don't do that? What? I don't understand. I said, she goes, no, we don't say I love you. We show I love you by the things that we do, by the acts that we do, by how we come together. This is how he knows that I love him. I love him because I cooked him his food. I love him because he has clothes on his back. I love him because he is housed. I love him because we pray together. I love him because of these things. And so therefore, there's no need to say it because I do it. And so it's something that I hold near and dear, because again, this society has a tendency to define to you what should be defined as what will be successful. I'm not saying the graduations aren't great. You did your work, you get your graduation on. Great. That's not what I'm saying. But what I do say, like Dr. Marimba Annie, is that we need to take back the words and redefine them for cultural sense, what they actually mean to us versus how they're defining our worth and just putting the value back in us. So, I love you all because I'm going to show you I'm doing work. I'm doing work with you all. I'm getting this done, and we're getting this done together. And our future is our children. And that's how we show love. So when all the children are, like Cherie said, not being guided, they have no idea how to walk. And I love the fact that she said that, because I call it veal. I call it veal. They have been fattened by society in a way, in different experiences, not for them to walk, not for them to be successful, not to have any value, and make sure that their worth is on the lowest totem pole, so they can definitely take away their value and redirect them in their successes and prevent them to be divinely connected to what they're supposed to be doing via purpose. So with that said, we are those that are responsible to create that change for the youth to not be a victim of those systems. So we have to take back the words, we have to define them, and we have to comprehend that it's no longer about us per se, it's about what we do for the environment for them. And that's success.
I agree. As I said before, and it's in tune with what you're saying, Sasha. Success to me is not having big material things. And I think Aisha spoke on this as well. It's not about having big material things. To me, it's about being able to felicitate my purpose on earth. What is my, my purpose of serving people? If I am able to do that, I'm content. I'm happy. I'm not saying I don't need to have a house. I don't need to have no vehicle. I'm not saying that there. I'm just saying that that's secondary to what I would like to do. So I also understand what Mr. Brooks and Mr. Parks is saying, that some people may say once they reach that level of success that there's nothing else out there and they don't continue to grow. We don't want to see people capture that mindset. And that's understandable. I agree with that 100%. However, this show tonight has taught me that we have to, as Sasha's saying, give true definition of words, not the definition that society has placed on words. Instead of using the word successful, we might need to come up with a different word that shows or exhibits what we're trying to convey to the youth, or what we're conveying to them. We have to stop following the trend or society's ideology and come up with. And I'm not saying this, to say that we just going to just change everything, but I'm saying that we need to come up with a system to make the kids feel more involved, and they can relate more to us. We don't need, because right now when we hear this word success, if you ask the average person what is the word success, it's not what Sasha's and them saying. It's not about the value of the person. Dwayne Brooks, you successfully went through, and you're not stopping. Let me say that first. You're not stopping what you're doing, but you successfully navigated through a unnatural world that really was not meant for any of us to come out of. Myself with 100 and something years, Kevin Hayes with 50 or 60 years, Maurice Clifton with 40 years, Carlos Parks with 30 something years. Nothing held us back. We continue to fight. And even though we're home, if that can be deemed a success to some, we're still going to make some noise. I would like to say we're noise makers. We're going to make some noise. We're not just going to lay down and say, hey, do this and do that. And because of that, that's why I say I love the show, because it brings a different perspective and make us look at things. It challenges my belief system, how I look at things. And don't misunderstand me, I'm stubborn. I'll be the first to admit it, I'm stubborn. And if you're saying something that I may not agree with, I normally won't even listen to that. But tonight, I listened to what you were saying because I wanted to hear you. I didn't listen to just, I wanted to feel what you were saying. So, I can see where you're coming from. A lot of people they just listen to hear instead of listen to understand. I wanted to understand what you were saying. That was the difference, and what he was saying. Success shouldn't stop you from continuing to go. And that's what I got out of it, which is a beautiful thing. Anybody else?
I think choosing to listen is one example of how you can stop the cycle of holding yourself back. Again, that was the topic. Are any of us holding ourselves back in any way? Didn't hear many people answer that. We talked about success.
I think in a lot of ways, I hold myself back. In a lot of ways, I beat myself up. My brother's on here. I'm not cutting you off. I just want to say what you're saying. I used to say, and I think I heard Carlos Parks said this earlier. I used to say, man, I'm supposed to be farther along than where I am. Just what I used to beat myself up. I'm supposed to be to accomplish a whole lot more than what I've accomplished. And my brother had to always bring me back to earth, I would say. Look at what you accomplished, where you are. You're not in prison. You got a decent job, which is not the end game. You have some businesses, you have your growth hour, you're out there making a difference, you're speaking at colleges, you're speaking everywhere. You're traveling to speak. Give yourself some time, bro. You haven't been home that long. Give yourself some time. You know, so yes, I do hold myself back in a lot of ways. Financially, mentally, you know, I'm not perfect. I'll be the first to say I do hold myself back in a lot of ways. And but I want first to admit that. Go ahead, Aisha. I apologize. I wanted to say I definitely hold myself back in a lot of ways.
No, I was done. That was it. We're at the hour. I'll let you close this out or let someone else have.
We got
something.
Sasha and I'm having a hand. I'm getting ready to close out. Sasha, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna simply answer Aisha's question as far as bringing it back to, you know, do you hold yourself back from your successes? And I would say I had an experience just this past week. We've been in the United Nations this week, doing some work. We officially recorded the purpose of Dr. World Group as far as combating the issues of overcoming dehumanization with UNESCO. So we had to do a discussion. I'm fine with speaking. I'm all right. I'm not gonna say I'm good. I'm all right at speaking engagements and stuff like that. But what I was doing was I was holding myself back in the capacity of how much I wanted to say, how I was saying it, and putting a level of stress where it needed not be. Because what I was presenting, no one else was presenting. What I was saying, no one else was saying. What my brother and I are doing, no one else is doing in the capacity of cooperatively working together and being an answer to an issue that's affecting all melanated and indigenous people. So, but in my mind's eye, in my own head, I was holding myself back in some kind of weird way, saying that maybe I'm saying it wrong. Wrong to who? Wrong to how? Who am I suggesting or recommending that it would be wrong in whatever way when no one else is doing what I'm presently born to do? So in that capacity, I had to listen, remember it's not about me, and present the discussion that was presented successfully on record. So I, in the moment of preparing, could have easily failed that preparation to be successful in the meetings because of those questions I was placing on myself. I thank the ancestors for carrying me through, because it's not, I guess this is where it becomes not about you. When you realize you're aligning yourself with the purpose, then it's not about you anymore. It's not about your fear. It's not about your concerns. It's not about the made up questions that you create for yourself, but it's about doing the purpose. Forget about all that. And then that's what carried me through, besides my brother saying, hey, stop acting up and get the work done. That we went out there and got the work done to be able to share with everyone. So that's where my story is. And thank you, Aisha, for reminding me to answer that question in itself. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for having the topic in itself.
Thank you. Thank everybody for coming and participating in the topic. As I said before, it's very enlightening for myself. I can only speak for me, for myself, and I'm sure it was enlightening for others as well. It's always good to come to a common ground and share different perspectives, challenge people's beliefs, their ideas, and everything like that. There also to learn. You know, we learned that exposure is the key thing to growth. The more you're exposed to, the more you grow. You know, we are the people that have to go out and expose the people that haven't been exposed to things, to bigger things. It helped me, again, this helped me understand the program I'm putting together. I went with some guys that already have one together inside of Washington, D.C., and I'm trying to do it in Maryland. And what they do is take the youth out to do different things. That's giving them exposure, getting them out of the neighborhood. So it helps me understand more the purpose of everything. I definitely want to say thank you for everybody, again, for taking the time out. I know the heat should be over there about wrapping that game up, but, you know, I meant to get back with somebody about this sports stuff, right? But I'm gonna get with you later, Mr. Brooks. But I just want you to know that the heat is in there taking care of that business. I'm hoping, But thank you, everybody. I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. It was something that Carlos Parks, and I forget who it was that was speaking on the topic, and we said we need to make that a topic. I was thinking with Cherie, and was saying a topic and just saying we need to do. Please get with me on that so we can make that a topic and bring that into a reality, because it needs to happen. Any closing words or any comments before we close out? Okay,
Yes.
sir.
Life is full of failures and successes. We have to realize that the supreme success is paradise. Jannah. So
can you all hear me now?
that's what we strive for. So we never cut ourselves short. We never cut ourselves off and say, I'm a success, because we are looking for a better success and more successes. So we have many successes in life and many failures too. So let's just keep on stacking up the successes. And this has been a successful show tonight. Thank you for having me.
No doubt, no doubt.
All right, everybody. I'll see y'all again next week. Thanks for coming. I'll see y'all next week. I used to let Drew know I missed him. I wanted to go in the financial direction and have him speak on some things, but I understand that he had some other things he had to do. We had to get that out again. That's our financial advisor. We have to, that's the people's financial advisor. But I definitely thank everybody. Tell them, wish them nothing but the best, and I'll talk to them soon. Hey, good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.